Welcome to Harkins Haven. My name is Lauren, and today we're going to go on a garden tour and see what's growing in our garden. Now, we live in northern Georgia, which is zone 8A usually. We haven't really overwintered a lot, so that hasn't been a big deal so far. Most of our garden is annual, and it is now beginning of May. Our last frost date was late March, early April, somewhere in there. So everything out here should be good as far as frost is concerned. Now I'm going to go through some of the mistakes that we made since this is our first year in ground. So what we've done in our garden is some basic rows with mulch pathways. So our idea is that the outside right next to the fence is all of our perennial plants, and then on the inside is our annual plants. So right here in this space, I have planted a bunch of asparagus sprouts. I tried to grow a few from seed, as you saw in an earlier video. Meh, if that actually really worked, I got like 3. But they're here too. So, and then I bought some crowns. So although it doesn't look like anything now, next year there should be the beginnings of asparagus, which we probably won't actually get to harvest. Before we get there, let's start here too, because these pots are also part of the garden. This is horseradish that I've got planted in here, and this one hasn't sprouted yet, but this one you can see has. So that's horseradish. My thought with these is horseradish can be a little bit, it needs some cooler weather, so this way I can move them around. Also, you want to harvest horseradish root, and this way if I need to, I can just dump the whole pot out to get the root if I need to. I'm not sure how yet. This right here, this lovely, gorgeous tomato plant, is a volunteer. So what happened was last year over the winter, we put our chickens on this space knowing it was going to be our garden. So that way they could just till it up, get some fertilizer on it, and we just let them go on this space all year. And we fed them all of our food scraps. Well, this year, even though we have tilled the garden into rows as our first year, I still have probably 20 or 25 volunteer tomato plants. I'll show you them. Some of them I have had to rescue out of my pathways and transplant. Some of them have just let go. I don't know what kind of tomatoes these are. Chances are, my son loves cherry tomatoes, so chances are that's what they are. And if I have 25 cherry tomato volunteers, that's going to be a lot of cherry tomatoes. But we won't know until they start growing. But they have blossoms, so they are going. Okay, so these are our onions over here. And some of them are pretty small because the way we started them from seed was not ideal. And I did not know that until it was too late. So I would do that a little differently next year. But they are going to give us onions, it looks like. They just might be a little smaller than we might have wished they were. Or they might take a little longer. But either one is fine. It's more than we had before. This very sad looking plant that has ants all over it and a bunch of holes in it was our attempt at cabbage. So I transplanted at least a dozen cabbages out into the garden, and this is the only one that is still here, and it looks pretty bad. So fail on the cabbages, not sure, I'm gonna have to look that up and see what I did wrong. Cabbage. This is lettuce. So my little Seed Time app told me to start my lettuce inside and then transplant it, which I thought you just direct sowed lettuce. I didn't know you transplanted it, but that's what it said, so I did that. This is the only one that survived. It looks pretty yummy, so we're gonna have to try it. I have since direct sown some lettuce, which we'll get to over there. Oh no, don't put dirt on the lettuce. In this corner here, I have more horseradish because they didn't all fit in that pot. So there's a few in this corner here that have not sprouted yet, so we'll see how they come up. And then this whole back section here, minus the couple of random volunteer tomatoes, I planted in strawberry crowns. Now, I only planted maybe about 30 crowns over this whole distance, so it's going to take us a couple years before we have all the this whole space filled with strawberries. But that is the goal, is that 1, the strawberries will stop the grass from coming in quite as much, and 2, we'll just have a lot of strawberries because we need a lot of strawberries. So these might be some of our best growing plants so far. These are potatoes, and this whole section right here is potatoes. There were some that were supposed to be right here in this row behind that didn't sprout, so I don't remember which variety I planted where. I'm gonna have to look that up. But whatever this variety was didn't work. But these are doing great. They do have potato flowers on them already, so we're just waiting for them to die back before we harvest them. This big leafy mess is a squash plant that I'm very excited about, interplanted with a random tomato volunteer, because why not? This one didn't do so well, don't know why. This one actually has baby squash on it, so I'm very excited that that is another couple days and we should actually be able to eat squash out of our garden. These are yellow squashes. I think all of them are. So, and then this bush here is more potatoes that didn't fit in that row. So these guys right here are the 4 remaining broccoli of the dozen or so that I planted originally. They have not headed yet, and it's now getting hot enough that I'm not sure they will, but I'm letting them go because I don't really need the space for anything else right now, and I want to see what happens if they actually get anything done. And then at the end here is just a few more onions. We sort of put our onions intermixed with everything as we had space, because when we originally started planting out before we had the whole garden rows built, just because of how timing worked. Let's go look over here. So these plants here, I believe, are cucumbers. My mom planted these, so I'm pretty sure that's what they are based on their little tendrils. They haven't grown quite as fast as I thought they would, but they are growing, so we're going to give them a chance. This guy here, and this massive behemoth right here, this is the tallest plant in my garden. It is a volunteer sunflower. So last year we moved to this property right at the end of planting season, so we really just planted some sunflowers for the fun of it. And this one is a volunteer from those that we planted last year. These plants here are green beans or yellow beans, depending on which ones they are. And I think I'm gonna go for a second set of these because I just don't think this is gonna be enough plants. But we are gonna have to get a trellis in here for these pretty soon. These plants right here, I have no idea what they are. They're something that I planted, but I don't know what they are, and they're not doing very well, so whatever it was. And that wonderful, gorgeous, big old plant right there is a weed. Welcome to what we are calling Tomato Central. This section right here are all the volunteers that we transplanted, and I have to say that they are doing some of the best of all of my tomatoes. Go figure. This vining plant right here is a very, very beautiful weed, but it makes pretty flowers, so we left it because originally I thought it was a vining squash, like a pumpkin or something. It's not, according to Google, and it doesn't look like one anymore. But let's look down here at this tomatoes. For the most part, this row, minus the volunteers that we don't know what they are slicing tomatoes that are indeterminate. So we'll trellis these up as a growing trellis. This row, for the most part, are bush tomatoes. They're Romas and Amish paste, and so they're gonna get trellised a little differently. This week, one of my jobs is to come in here. I need to prune the bottom leaves off some of these tomatoes to help them resist all the diseases that come with the tomatoes touching the ground. And we'll get the trellis up because some of these are starting to need to get trellised pretty soon. This row is mostly empty, save the couple volunteer tomatoes, because I'm going to put the peppers in here, and they are currently on the back porch hardening off. On this side, we have this nice little plant right here. This is an elderberry, and you have to plant them by twosies, so its partner is down the row a little bit. And then the goal is that this whole section out here will be elderberries in a couple years, because elderberries, the way I understand it, put off runners sort of like strawberries. We're back to the beginning of the garden. These nice concreted in posts that Brian did for me are gonna have a gate right here when we get enough time to put it in. We do have deer pressure around here, so that's why we have such a tall fence. So we're gonna finish fencing this in and put in gates as soon as we have the time. So far the deer haven't been too bad on the actual garden, but we did see them eating the sunflowers last year, so we're gonna go ahead and fence it in as we get to it. And I think that that's our garden tour for right now. The only thing else we have is a little bit of garlic up by the house and a couple blueberry plants, which my son will very soon be devouring. That is the complete garden for this year. So we'll let you follow along as we go and see more of what we're growing. We do have a fairly long growing season, so we do have some things that we're gonna direct sow. I don't have any radishes. I'd like some more lettuce, those sort of things. And when we get to the fall garden, hopefully we'll be able to do some things like carrots. Maybe we'll try the broccoli and the cabbage again. We'll see how it goes. So stick around and see what else we're gonna grow. And in the meantime, check out one of our other videos. That's all, folks.